Hello, everybody. We've got a show that promises to be mildly interesting for your listening and watching enjoyment. For this episode's monologue, I'm returning to one of my favorite podcast segments, my ongoing list of perfect albums. You didn't think I finished the list yet, did you? Then we've got Steve Fretzin, author, podcaster, and biz dev whiz kid. He's got some hot tips for law firm marketing. And we know you can't get enough Fretzin. So Steve stuck around to reveal some of his more personal preferences in a new counter program segment. Are you Fretz-in or are you Fretz-out? Now, to answer the eternal question, who's next? Go home and get your shine box because it's legal late night. At my old podcast, The Legal Toolkit, you remember that one, right? I had a list of perfect albums going. When I left the podcast, we had covered 7 perfect albums as follows in chronological order. Gordon Lightfoot's Sundown from 1974. Paul Simon's Graceland from 1986. Son Volt's Anodyne from 1993. Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, also from 1993. Sheryl Crow's The Globe Sessions from 1998. Coldplay's Viva La Vida or Death and All His Friends from 2008. And Taylor Swift's Folklore from 2020. Covered by my wife and the ultimate Swiftie, Jessica. So what that all means is we've arrived at the Elite 8. The 8th entry into my musical canon then is, who's next? The 1971 recording from The Who, which is quite simply the greatest rock album ever made. But it didn't start out that way. And The Who didn't start there. So let's begin our tale with the how. Specifically, how The Who got to the place where they were able to craft Who's Next. The 3 founding members of The Who started out as the Detours before they themselves took a detour and changed their name, which eventually stuck after one final shift, all went to the same grammar school. The guy who started the band was Roger Daltrey. He was the original guitarist and then became the lead singer. He invited John Entwistle to play rhythm guitar, but he had trouble picking it up and learned to play the bass instead. Next came Pete Townsend, the lead guitarist who would stick. Daltrey ran the band like a manager in the early days, and Townsend was the creative force behind The Who. So their original drummer was a dude in his 30s whose wife was angry that he was playing in the band and staying out too late at night. More on that in a moment. But that's all very un-Who-like. So he was replaced by Keith Moon, who did not have any such hang-ups because he was a complete fucking lunatic. I feel like to be successful as a British rock band, somebody's got to get Pete bested. And the successful British band, The Who did become. The Who's first single was called I Can't Explain, which is sort of an acknowledged ripoff of The Kinks. That's another great British band's song called All Day and All of the Night. And that was pretty much the last time that Townsend, with the original lineup of The Who, wrote a normal song. With a hit under their belt, The Who started to experiment. Their next single, Anyway, Anyhow, Anywhere, was the first commercially successful and released pop song to include feedback on a guitar solo, and added all sorts of other guitar trickery / wizardry, to the point where their label was nervous about even releasing it. The Who's music was always experimental, and the band, Townsend especially, committed to writing non-traditional lyrics and covering non-traditional subject matter. In other words, not just a whole bunch of love songs. So you get I'm a Boy, which is a song about the misplaced order of a child in a future where you can order children from a factory, who was supposed to be a girl, but is actually a boy. The parents don't care and they treat him like a girl anyway, much to his chagrin. Yeah, this song came out in 1965, by the way. Then there's Pictures of Lily, a song about a boy who is not interested in real girls because he's too busy whacking it to the titular pictures of Lily in his bedroom. The real Lily from the pictures is dead, by the way. Little Harold and Maude, totally The Who. Lastly, Boris the Spider, a song about killing Boris, the eponymous spider, which John Entwistle said he had written, but had not. He only had the name, and put lyrics down for in less than 10 minutes for a recording session the next day. It's probably his most popular song. But after a couple records, My Generation and a Quick One, those are the UK versions of the album titles, the band began to tire of the traditional format and released a concept album, The Who Sell Out, which included parody commercials for, among other things, Heinz baked beans and Jaguar cars, interspersed with regular songs, before hitting their stride with their rock opera phase. The Who Sell Out, it should be noted, features their first great album cover, one half of which is Roger Daltrey literally bathing in a tub full of baked beans, probably Heinz baked beans. You'll never guess what the other side featured, but you're going to have to Google that one. I can't tell you everything. Now, The Who got a bunch of lawsuits that stemmed from this album, because guess what? The real brands weren't happy about the parodies, not shockingly. The record was critically acclaimed, but was not a commercial standout as expected. But that all changed with their next album, when The Who went supernova. Tommy, their first full rock opera, after a bit of an experiment on their second album, with a suite called A Quick One While He's Away, was about a blind, deaf, and dumb boy who just happens to be a kick-ass pinball player. Doesn't need a census for that. And this album became iconic, typically out there in Who fashion. The entire album is a fully integrated story with some amazing vignettes. Everybody knows the Tommy Can You Hear Me part. Pinball Wizard is the earworm to end all earworms. And there are other single level tracks on the album like Sally Simpson, and We're Not Going to Take It. I fucking hate musicals, but Tommy is great. Tommy, the 1969 rock opera, would become Tommy, the 1979 movie. The 1975 movie, that is, with an unbelievable cast. Roger Daltrey as Tommy. We've also got Elton John as the Pinball Wizard, Tina Turner as the Acid Queen, Eric Clapton as the Preacher, and fucking Jack Nicholson showing up randomly as the Doctor. The Who also headlined the Isle of Wight Festival and appeared at Woodstock in the same calendar year. Not too shabby. And I think that at that point, folks were probably thinking, they'll probably never top this. Only they did with their very next album, Who's Next? Now, to me, The Who are what I think of when I think about rock and roll. They are the quintessential rock band. They're loud as fuck. They're experimental. Roger Daltrey screams a whole heck of a lot as the lead singer. Pete Townsend windmills his arm when he's playing the guitar. Pete Townsend smashes said guitar when he's done playing it. And Keith Moon destroys his drum kit. They were a kick-ass live band as well. They're everything that's great about rock and roll, and Who's Next is their masterpiece. I mean, let's just start with the album cover. It's a picture of the entire band having just pissed all over a monolith in the middle of a slag heap in England, which is basically what they did to every other rock album ever released after this album came out. So it kind of sets the tone. In reality, Pete Townsend was the only one who could actually get himself to pee for the photo shoot, and I think that's kind of fitting, honestly. So Who's Next was actually another failed rock opera, because the intention post-Tommy was for Townsend to write a new rock opera called Lifehouse. The idea behind Lifehouse is fucking nuts, by the way. He essentially wanted to build a machine, an actual physical device, to generate Who music that was merged with computerized biographical data from their fans. And he wanted to do this in 1970, when computers were roughly the size of Mack trucks. He had a nervous breakdown because the idea was too significant for him to convey to his bandmates and, the rest of humanity as well. So the rock opera broke down, but Who's Next was born. And so Who's Next is the best possible rock opera because it doesn't have any of the filler. It's just the singles. And they're all fucking bangers. This is the kind of album you put your noise-canceling headphones on for and just crank it up. Maybe one day it will be a computer simulation, I don't know, and we'll find the universal chord that Townsend was seeking. But so far, he's still almost 60 years ahead of the rest of us. The big songs from Who's Next you're probably familiar with are Baba O'Reilly, colloquially known as Teenage Wasteland, which is effectively the chorus. That's a tribute to a combo platter of Townsend's muses, spiritualist Meher Baba and composer Terry Riley. Not to be confused with Boston Bruins enforcer Terry O'Reilly. That's a different dude. This is also Townsend going all in on synthesizers in a way he never had before, which is something the band had only experimented with previously and was something really new to pop music. This song has a bit of DNA of the original Lifehouse concept in that Townsend attempted to create a biographical piece of music by tying the personality of Baba into the musical stylings of Riley. I mean, who the fuck knows if that worked? I certainly don't. But the song is pretty dope. Bargain is the next song on the album. It's Townsend's favorite song on this record. And in typical Townsend fashion, it sounds like a normal love song, but it's actually about finding spiritual enlightenment. Oh, there's a twist. George Harrison would have been proud, but he could never rock it so hard. Though there's a great somber interlude in the middle of the song. Won't Get Fooled Again is the track that closes the album, and that is a powerhouse rock song if there ever was one. It may be the powerhouse rock song, if we're being honest. The concluding lyric, "Meet the new boss, same as the old boss," is basically why I've lived my entire life as someone who is not a joiner. This was also supposed to be the crescendo of the rock opera as well, and you can tell. The riffs on this song are fucking electric. In my opinion, this is the best Who song, fittingly on the best Who album. This is maybe the perfect song. Behind Blue Eyes, another famous song. This is the one that winds up to a fairly climactic rock segment and also includes some more amazing Townsend lyrics. When my fist clenches, crack it open before I use it, lose my cool, which introduces that last hardcore segment of the song. I can remember back to when I first heard this song, not knowing how it ended, and I was just like, holy fuck. It remains a crime against humanity that Limp Bizkit re-recorded this song, by the way. But my favorite tracks on Who's Next are what many consider to be the lesser tracks, either because they're simpler lyrically or musically. Love Ain't for Keepin' is not the best song on the album, but it's my favorite song on the album. I like how this is an acoustic track, uniquely mixed with multi-tracked guitars as it breaks up the harder tone on most of the rest of the album. If you listen to records all the way through, though, like I do, Love Ain't for Keepin' is like a little intermission after getting sonically bashed about the head and face for 10 plus minutes with Baba O'Reilly and Bargain. The placement's perfect. And the lyrics, I think, speak more to the inevitable loss of love than just getting some on a summer day rolling around in the grass. This shit ain't afternoon delight. My second favorite song on the album is actually the next track, and that's John Entwistle's song, My Wife, which she also sings lead on. This is just a fun little song about a guy getting hammered and being afraid of getting caught by his wife. Interestingly, there's no guitar solo on this song. Remember, Entwistle never really took to lead guitar. A lot of people think Going Mobile is a cheesy song, but it's a great driving tune. The lyrics are pretty simplistic for a Townsend song, but I like the mix of acoustic guitar and synth. It's also another change up with Townsend singing lead vocals solo on this one. I think it's kind of funny that the song is also about a dude trying to stay off the radar of law enforcement authorities by driving his RV around. Getting in Tune is a track that continues to build upon itself over its entire runtime. It's about a singer trying to find meaning in his lyrics and his music, and this one does not include any synthesizers, which is a major break from the rest of the album. The Song Is Over is the only song on the album I hadn't mentioned yet, and that's the one real ballad on Who's Next. Townsend and Daltrey exchange lead vocals on this song, and this is probably my least favorite song on this album, but it would be my favorite track on a majority of other albums by other bands. And I guess that's how you get a perfect album. The variety of tracks on Who's Next is simply astonishing. Now, after Who's Next, the original version of The Who had 3 albums left in them. Another rock opera, Quadrophenia, which is their worst one, but has some good tracks. Next came The Who by Numbers, a proper album, no concept album, not a rock opera, probably due to Townsend's writer's block. I mean, produce a murderous row of albums like that, you probably run out of ideas after a while. But The Who by Numbers does have a large volume of solid tracks. In 1978, they released Who Are You, featuring the title track, which I think is a pretty popular song that most people know. And this was the last album with the original band, as drummer Keith Moon died 3 weeks after its release. Moon was a raging alcoholic and died overdosing on drugs meant to control his withdrawal symptoms when he was trying to kick the habit. On the album cover, Moon is sitting in a backward-facing chair with the words, "Not to be taken away," written on the back of it. The Who did not shut down, however, after the death of their drummer like Led Zeppelin did when John Bonham died, but they were never really the same group after that. Though Daltrey and Townsend still perform as The Who, I think they're on tour right now, and they even released an album together in 2019. In 2023, the band released the Who's Next Lifehouse Super Deluxe Edition, which is, I guess, better than the regular Deluxe Edition, and is a full 10 albums worth of music. So this is where I opine that Lifehouse, that was never going to be finished. And Who's Next is the rare example of not letting the good be the enemy of the perfect. So who's next? Well, that's both pure and easy. It's Steve Fretzin. For this episode of Legal Late Night, let me welcome you to my llama era. Well, I've effectively run out of things to say, which is awkward because this is a podcast. So I'm going to just tap dance, I guess, for the last half hour or so. The one issue is I am no Gregory Hines, my friend. No, I'm just fucking around. We're going to do an interview like we usually do. That other thing sounds awful. Our guest today, returning. Well, I guess he's not returning because this is a new podcast entirely, but I've talked to him before. It's Steve Fretzin, everybody. He's the principal of Fretz-in, Inc. Steve, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, so good to be here, be on the show, and get back to yuck it up with you once again.
It's so fun. Never ends.
We're like a good yuck.
Yes, yes. Let's do the boring stuff first. No, keep listening. Steve, if folks don't know who you are, which I don't know, I feel like that's insanely unlikely.
How is that even
at
possible?
This point, right? Can you tell people what you do? Like, I don't know, for the people in Antarctica who haven't listened to your podcast or read your books yet, I'll get to that in a second. Just give me, what's going on over at Fretz-in Inc. headquarters these days?
So I started off as a male model a few years ago.
Of course.
When I hit 50.
Yes.
And
wow, you started late. You started your career
I started
late.
Well,
You're like
that's when I started. Apparently, that's when my wife started getting attracted to me. Once I hit 50, I was the silver. This what they call it, the silver hair.
Silver fox. I don't know. I feel like you're a
silver
silver fox. Yeah, there we go.
Nice. But when I'm not male modeling or adopting dozens of children, I run a company that does only one thing, and that is work with attorneys to help them grow their law practices. We're like known as the business development, be that lawyer guys. And it's just our greatest pleasure to teach the skills that lawyers never learn in law school. And that includes, everything business development related. So individual attorneys can take things to the next level and be that lawyer.
So you are a business attorney and male model, as you just stated. Do you have a smolder look like Derek Zoolander does? Do you have a signature look? Oh, there you go. Okay. See, I'm so glad we're doing a video podcast now because I can actually get a look at that. All right. Ladies, relax.
Everybody calm down. All right. I get enough fan mail as it is. It's ridiculous.
Let's talk about some of the stuff you do in terms of content marketing, because I think it's interesting and it's also like an avatar for attorneys who want to do the same thing. You've written a lot of books, man. You are, in addition to male modeling, you're like the Danielle Steele of business books for lawyers. You just crank these fuckers out all the time.
I got number 5 right behind me, brother.
I was gonna say.
And you're in it. I got you in it somehow, and you're not even practicing right now.
Well, bribery works.
Yeah, bribery's good.
So this is book number 5, and it's already been released. Is that right?
No, it has not been released. It has not been released.
What's this one called?
Coming soon. This is, I don't even know the name. It's Be That Lawyer, 101 Top Rainmakers, Secrets to Growing a Successful Law Practice.
Nice.
Something like that. I think that's what it's called because I haven't looked behind me in a long time. But it's wonderful.
Video podcast, you can see it, everybody.
I've had such an incredible run of interviewing top rainmakers on my podcast, sharing their wisdom. And what I've been able to do is take all that great content and essentially, look, if you could be in a room with 101 top rainmakers that are telling you this is how to do it, this is what I did, these are suggestions and tips, I think most lawyers would want that book. I know I would.
So in terms of like the book writing stuff, What I know you're on book number 5 at this point, but what made you decide to do it in the first place? Are you just like, I've got stuff that I need to repurpose, or is it like, I want to be an author?
It's literally the only interesting story I have was
Boy.
About books. About books.
We're really selling it here today.
Yeah, you really saw it.
Stay on, please.
So before I got into working with lawyers, I worked in over 50 industries. And one of the guys I worked with is a friend of mine named Steve Hamburg. And he is in the data security business, cybersecurity stuff. And this is back, we're going back 20 years, okay?
Yeah.
And he says to me, like, I helped him double, triple his business to the point where he sold it and could basically retire. So we're fans of each other. But ultimately, he said, look, I have a book idea for you. I want to take you to lunch and I want to tell you what it is. And essentially, there's another book out there called The Goal. And you know about that book? It's a book on operations, but it's told as a story.
Full disclosure, people know this, I think. Maybe I don't read business books.
Okay.
Offense.
And you don't have to, because I'm going to tell you what it's about. It's about a guy who runs a factory, but the point of it was a parable. It wasn't a how-to book. Like, I can write articles, I could write how-to books, no problem. But to write a story about a character who's a coach who works with 3, entrepreneurs, a lawyer, blah, 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 that I had never conceived of and never thought of. And so he said, this is the book you need to write. And I said, oh my God, that sounds really hard. And it was really, really hard. Like, again, I can write an article for Above the Law in about an hour, but writing a chapter, but writing dialogue, and he said this and she said that, and this is what that was really outside of my comfort zone. And my editor was not easy on me, but I knocked it out. It's called Sales Free Selling. It talks a lot about the methodology of what I'm teaching lawyers, how to grow a book of business without ever feeling salesy. And that was the story of the book. But it took a client coming to me saying, I have a book, you need to write this book, basically like putting it on me. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. Huh. That's how that happened.
That was book number 1.
That was book number 1.
So do you have the same process now that you're in book 5, or is it a little bit different?
It's very different. This book is 100% of repurposing. So as opposed to this book being what I have to share, and I've shared a lot in 4 books, this book is unique because it's what I'm able to pull out of others and what they can share. What does Jared Correia have to say about marketing that people would want to know? And there's a lot, but I can summarize it in a chapter, right? And get it down to you got to buy one to find out. But bringing it, condensing something down, getting the goods, and then condensing it down into a chapter and providing that kind of information, I think that's the most excited I've been about a book since I think the first one.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you built this kind of content marketing program that's really impressive. Got a lot of different categories of content pieces. The other one you got is your podcast. So you've got the Be That Lawyer podcast. And you're pretty prolific there. We were talking before we started recording today, and I think you're saying you're doing like 2 to 3 shows a week, right?
I'm producing 2 a week. I mean, sometimes I'll record 4 or 5 in a week, and I'll get like way ahead of my production schedule. Like I've got them, for I think like the next 10 weeks already done. But I absolutely love the podcast, and people think that, hey, I shouldn't do a podcast because there's already so many out there. I go, there are a lot out there, but there aren't that many good ones. And you just need to find the people who can appreciate your angle and the quality that you're bringing to the table. And if you can do it the right way and people like it and they feel like you're kind of hanging out in the back seat listening to a conversation, which is what I think your show is all about and have been about, is like people just feel so comfortable listening to you interview and have fun dialogue with somebody. And I've sort of emulated that in mine, or tried to. Not as funny as yours, but we're talking about serious stuff here. The legal business development and marketing.
Biz dev is serious shit. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. But that release schedule, man, and the production schedule, I don't know. I couldn't do that. Like we're trying to do weekly on this show. I'm going to stop saying trying because we're going to do it. Come hell or high water, I'm going to make that happen. But I'm fucking struggling. Like one show a week is enough for me. How do you keep that up? Like what's the trick? Like that's impressive, honestly. The stamina to be able to do that.
It's a lot about having a really good production company, having a good VA that can do the graphics and the video and like get everything prepared in a way that it's all works together. So I'm spending 15 to 30 minutes pre-interview. I'm doing a 30-minute soup to nuts interview. I upload it, and I'm kind of out of the mix at that point. So people think like, how do you have a day job, or how do you have any time to coach anybody when your articles and books and podcasts and all this stuff? And I go, it's actually, I'm not trying to like divulge a secret or anything, but it's important to have a team.
Yeah.
And if you have a good team, then your life becomes much easier. And this could go across with a business or a law firm or anything.
Yeah. You're not out there editing audio content at like 1 a.m. being like, son of a bitch,
No.
I got to get this out tomorrow. I mean,
and I've got a line of people that want to be, I'm getting 5 to 10 solicitations a week to get on my show. And so there's some that look really good and I'll let them on. There's others that I do what's called a showcase where they pay a fee to get on. And then there's the rest that are all like my referral partners and people that I'm meeting and all the networking I do and people that get highly recommended to refer to me. And for that, they're home runs. I just let them right on.
Right. I mean, like, if I didn't have Evan to do this show with me, I'd be completely fucked.
You gotta have help.
There'd be no show.
I was talking to a friend of mine who does a podcast, and she was all stressed out about it. It was taking her forever to release one a month or 2 a month. And she was editing the whole episode herself. She was taking out every every ah. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, that's so well produced. Like, you don't need to do that. That's crazy.
Well, to your point though, this model that you're talking about, like getting people to help you with the engineering and the publication, like finding existing referral sources and partners to come on the show. Like, I think any lawyer could build a podcast like that. I mean, no offense when I say this, but like that model itself, like you'd have the personality to pull it off, but that model is doable for, I think, almost any service business owner.
Yeah, I've gotten like 15 people, lawyers, to do their own podcasts when we talk about not only the potential of meeting people, which is that's my favorite part about it. Isn't actually the production of it and the marketing that comes from it. Yeah. It's I get to meet all these amazing people. I mean, I interviewed John Morgan for my 500th episode.
Look at you.
And here's a guy that's a billionaire, right? Not bad, right?
Yeah. He's on all the billboards.
He's on all the billboards, and now he's going to have me on a billboard with him. No, he's not going to do that. But but I mean, it was such a phenomenal episode. And again, I'm not doing anything, beyond that. It's fantastic. It's just I get to meet him, and then all the marketing that comes from it. So anyway, I love it.
So you're effectively a biz dev consultant, I would say, like broadly speaking. So it makes sense that you would do all this stuff because then you can tell lawyers how to do it as well. But I want to know, like, how did you end up, you said you were in like 50 industries before you did this. How did you end up landing on this as a career? Because you've been really successful at it, but how did that start for you?
It was really sort of by accident. The recession of 2008 led to
good times.
I mean, good times, bad times. I've had my share. The hours were cut. Attorneys that had 2,000 hours a year cut in half. They were fired. General counsels were let go. People were going solo. It was a mad dash for people to survive. And all of these entrepreneurs in these 50 industries that I'd worked in, people were saying, hey, you're really successful. How did you do it? Or who do you know? And they kept referring lawyers to me that needed help. And I think between the need in the industry, because they don't know anything, and the fact that I was teaching sales-free selling really connected well. And so it was one attorney, then two, then a firm, then another. And within, I think, about 16 months, I had about 80% of my business was lawyers and law firms. And I'm telling them how important it is to specialize. And then one of them said to me, well, why aren't you specialized? You work with mostly attorneys. I go, don't do that to me. Don't put me on don't call me a hypocrite when I'm being hypocritical. Yeah. It's do as I say, not as I do. You know the rules. So I was like, all right, I guess, look, I can be a specialist. Here's the thing. And I tell this to lawyers too. You can be a specialist and you can promote yourself as a specialist. That doesn't mean that you have to reject the business that's coming in where it's not your specialty. It's up to you if you decide to take it. So even when I decided and pushed all my chips into legal and started promoting I changed by the way, you'll love this. The name of my company before Fretz-in Inc. was Sales Results Inc.
Oh.
Can you imagine an attorney hiring a guy, Sales Results Inc.?
Oh my God.
The most salesy name you could have that entrepreneurs love, by the way. and lawyers who get sales love, but it really wasn't working. They were embarrassed to like carry around my materials.
Lawyers who get sales, how many of them are out there?
It's in the high 1% to 2% range is what I'm thinking. So it was really, and it didn't happen overnight. I think it took me about a year to kind of make that move and really start changing everything.
Yeah.
I had to update all my materials. I had to change my website. I had to change my logo. Everything was different. So that's kind of how it went down. And honestly, I've never looked back with any regret. I feel like the legal community has adopted me as I've adopted them. It's been a beautiful partnership. And now I'm international. I'm working with attorneys in Brazil and Israel and Saudi Arabia and Canada. And it's just been an incredible experience.
That's cool. Yeah, the sales-free selling, I think, is the key that unlocks the door, like you said. Like
it's pretty sweet.
Lawyers hate to talk about
They
sales.
hate it. They hate it. I mean, they're so angry that they're like, this is not what this is bait and switch. This is not what I signed on to do. I'm going to be the best lawyer I can be.
Right.
And now, by the way, you're telling me I have to go like market myself and I have to go like land clients.
Come on.
Yeah, they're not happy about it. But there's 10% that get it and that really go after it, and the rainmakers that people talk about at the water cooler, and those are the folks I'm spending the majority of my time with. So happy days.
2008, I think, was when I started doing consulting too, probably for the same reason.
It was a good time, good year.
It was a good time to get started.
A banner year for some.
This.
Yeah, less so for others.
So I'm interested in your thoughts on. You've been in this space for a while, so like, there's been like 2 pretty significant changes, I think, in the last 5 years. And I'm not like, this is not like any brilliant commentary, but like we had the pandemic, which sucked. Everybody who was doing in-person networking was kind of fucked at that point because there was 0 in-person networking. And now there's AI. And there's probably a world in which like we have like robot dogs networking for each of us at some point in the future, right? We're going to be sitting at home. So how should people be networking now? And how should they be preparing for like the future of networking? What does that look like to you? Does that change? Because it seems like it's been pretty resilient post-pandemic. Like conferences are coming back and that kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, everything's cyclical. Everything's coming around. I think the problem that I'm seeing is that people aren't preparing for a next pandemic. They're not preparing for AI. KPMG just came into the space in Arizona. They're not preparing for what's going to happen when the true professional business consulting people start taking over legal. They're really not thinking ahead. Right. AI is going to take away the billable hour in some ways, right? And how people are making money. So there's all these things coming at lawyers, and I think most of them are just honestly hiding under their desk. They want to understand it or hear about it and kind of pick up on it. But as far as like taking action and doing something progressive to like improve themselves around it, it's still the minority. It's still 5% maybe.
Not super encouraging.
No, sorry. But maybe this is it. Look, everyone that listens to this podcast is getting a wake-up call. You and I are having this conversation. And look, I can't predict the future and say it's going to happen. All I can do is go based off of the 2008, the pandemic, and what I see coming up with the political world and everything happening economically. You better start preparing yourself with some solid networking, building your relationships. And I've said this before, and I'm pretty sure I stole it from someone, that you only have 2 things that really matter as a lawyer. One is your lawyering skills that you can take with you and carry on with you. The other are your relationships and your clients. And if you're the greatest lawyer in the world, but you don't have your own clients and you have to now start from nothing and go get them because your firm just got absorbed. I mean, think about, not to bring up anything political, but I mean, Trump's going to shut down. You can bring up political
stuff on here.
All right. I'm just saying, like, Trump is going to shut down a few law firms, and how many more because he wants them out of the way. I wouldn't be happy at Skadden right now and at Perkins Coie, thinking that somebody can just take it all away because they're angry with us or disagree with us. I mean, that is so concerning to me and should be to the legal industry.
I'd be pissed off too. Yeah. And
it's scary as hell.
Well, it's funny. You see the associates coming out and saying shit about that. Some of them are resigning, but then they're having trouble getting other big law firms on board with their lawsuits, which I think is problematic that nobody wants to say anything. On that note, like, how do you feel about that in terms of networking? Like, should people be talking about politics at this point?
No.
Because it's so polarizing at this time.
If you can identify that someone shares the same political views that you do, And by the way, I love Trump. I think he's the greatest thing that's ever happened to the world, in case you go that way. Everybody tells me that he's great.
People are saying.
With tears in their eyes, Jared, they come to me and they say, sir, no one's better than this. All right. So I think if you find, like, I have a client who is aggressively Republican, and we agreed when we met each other that we knew there was friction, that there could be friction. And we said, listen,
talk about this.
Honestly, that's what we did. And we said, look, we need to accomplish something together. We need you to build your book of business, right? And we've got this thing on the side, and I'm going to actually help you leverage it. Like, I'm going to help you lean into networking and getting business from the hard right, because that's where he was. And we did that.
And
we
there's
did that
certainly
together.
ways to do that. Yeah.
And we didn't need to get into it. We can still be friends and we can still disagree. But if you figure out that someone has the same political views or economic views or religious views that you have, go for it. Talk it up. Bond around it. That's fine. But it's not something you would bring up in a networking event. It's not something you would bring up unless you absolutely knew that someone went the same way.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, rule number one, right?
Okay. Still in effect. Okay.
Still in effect. Yep.
Couple marketing greatest hits for you here before we slide into my last segment, which I'm very excited about.
Sure.
What about community-focused networking activities for attorneys? Like community-based in terms of like city, county you live in, state you live in, versus like just going to like the lawyer events all the time.
Yeah.
Like, is that effective and necessary? Like, what are your views on that?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I do when I meet a lawyer that we agree to work together is we evaluate their business, where the business came from, where the business needs to come from. Is this national in scope, local in scope? So let's just take a hypothetical. Let's say it's an estate planner in Cincinnati, Ohio. All right. Going to estate planning functions in Cincinnati, Ohio, and meeting people that do the same thing, probably not a great idea. Right. So an old time marketing book, Blue Ocean Strategy, right? The sea's bloodied red with competition, go where the blue ocean is. So let's think about the church, the temple. Let's think about the sport that you play. So I play a sport in Chicago, and it's in Boston, called platform tennis. Okay. It's outdoor in the winter.
You were telling me about
right?
this. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like pickle, but you've got screens surrounding you, but it's private clubs and community clubs playing against each other. So I'm running around playing the sport I love, having whiskey and food with all these business owners and lawyers.
Now you have my attention. Whiskey's involved. Now you have my attention.
Bourbon. I love the bourbon. And I'm enjoying drinking bourbon, bringing bourbon, sharing bourbon, playing against, beating up on people. That's my thing. And networking.
You're the enforcer in platform tennis?
I'm so sorry that we destroyed you on the court, but I'd love to share my bourbon with you. And by the way, what do you do? What's your day job? Or whatever. And
funny.
We get to know each other. But I'm dealing with, and then these people are like super interested to hear what I'm up to. And when they hear that I've got this unique space, everyone seems to know a lawyer. So we get into this great conversation. So I like the local networking where you can find common ground with people, like a church or temple, a community board or charity, or something like a sport, like a golf group that goes out and plays golf, or bowling league. Those are phenomenal ways to network.
Great. Okay. Plus, you can get some bourbon. That's a good deal as well.
I mean, look, and if you can have fun and meet great people, I don't see a downside.
All right. Last one for you. So you've heard a lot of talk about elevator pitches, like people still talk about this in terms of marketing. Is that still as important as it used to be, or is it more about getting as many touches or views as you can get? Like, is it more repetition than just having like a great opening line? Do you still need both? Do you have thoughts on this?
I find there's two things that bother me about elevator pitches at a networking event, or when you meet someone, or even seeing like it on their website or whatever.
Yeah.
Number one is when they say, I'm a CPA and I do this and I do this and I do this. And I can tell if I go to 4, I do this, or 5, I do this, everyone's going to turn off your podcast because nobody wants to hear that crap. I mean, it is so freaking
catalog.
It is so freaking boring of everything that this person does. And I can't tell you, it's 8 out of 10 lawyers are still doing the goddamn I do this, I do this, I do this bullshit.
Yeah.
It's awful. Okay. Yeah. The other thing that isn't done is why do you do what you do? Why are you unique? Why are you special? Why do you stand out? Authentic. And people aren't being authentic. They're just going through the motions of telling people, I work at this firm, maybe, Dewey, Cheatham and Howe or whatever. And then they go through the list of I do's, and it's awful. So I think whether it's your website, your LinkedIn profile, banner, whether it's your infomercial, you need to have something that grabs attention, and you need to have something that makes you memorable or draws out a question. And I think it's a lost art form that people aren't investing enough time in not only knowing it, but memorizing a few versions and having it at the ready. So I'm at the ballpark and I'm sitting next to someone and we get into talking about the players or whatever. And I say, oh, by the way, what's your, nice to meet you, Jim, what's your day job? And he tells me I should have something at the ready so that I'm not making it up on the fly, because it's never going to come out as well if you're winging it.
Yeah. Not a list of I do's though. And something that is authentic to you. It sounds like. Okay.
That's something that's going to be interesting to the person that you're sitting across from. I mean, do you want them to go, oh, another lawyer, right? Or do you want them to go, that sounds really interesting. Tell me more about that. Yeah, please.
So that's great. I think that's really good advice. And then the second piece of that is like, once you meet somebody, then I think it makes sense to tie them into like your content marketing program, right? So how do you do that? Like, do you meet somebody, you hit it off, and then it's like, hey, man, you should subscribe to my podcast. Is that how it goes, or are you more subtle about it than that?
I'm more subtle than that.
Okay. All right. I thought you might be.
I mean, subscribe to my podcast. I mean, you may mention
Dude, like
someone
I haven't said
that. You've told me 5 times before we got on air about subscribing to your podcast already. No, but I honestly, it's really like, what I try to teach and what I try to do is everybody has value as a friend. I mean, if you like somebody and you want to be friends with somebody, go for it. But from a business perspective in your time, everybody, including lawyers, has a limited amount of time. So there's someone I meet that I go, this person's never going to be a prospective client for me. They're never going to be a connector for me. There's never anything business-wise we're going to do together. I can still be their friend. I'll connect with them on LinkedIn. They'll see all my stuff.
There you go.
And that's sort of the end of it.
Yeah.
Then the other side of it is this person is a lawyer. They're at $500,000. They want to get to $1 million to make equity. They've told me all this information. Maybe it would make sense for us to get together and have a coffee and get to know each other better. And maybe they'll tell me more about it. And that may be the direction I go with that person. And there's all the things in the middle. So I think it's really about, to some degree, the word qualifying. And I hate to say that because, again, everybody's good potentially for a friend. But when it comes to my valuable time, I'm qualifying who I connect with on LinkedIn, which takes no time, all the way to who I want to go spend an hour with, which takes a lot of time. And then there's everything in the middle.
Gotcha. I don't know. I'll say it. Like, some people, will I qualify them outside of a friend category? Sure. Like, do I want to be friends with this person? Not necessarily. I'll be that guy.
Really. Yeah.
But we're friends. So do you want to come back for the last?
We're the total package, man. Don't blow it. You got 5 minutes left. Don't blow it.
You ready to come back for one more segment here? I think it'll be fun.
I gotta come back. Last time I think we did something about the Olympics in the winter, and we did
the shitty Olympics, which was like shitty Olympics events. Now I don't want to repeat, so we're going to be doing something different, but I think you'll like it.
Fair. I'm here for you.
We got Steve Fretzin coming back around in a second. Welcome back, everybody. That's right. It's time for the Counter Program. It's a podcast within a podcast. This is a conversational space where we can address usually unrelated topics that I want to explore at greater depth with my guest. Expect no rhyme and very little reason. Steve, welcome back.
Hey.
Still doing all right?
Happy to be here. I wouldn't miss it.
All right. So one thing I think that you do I don't think, I know you do it and I love it, is when you make introductions to people via email, you call them Fretz introductions. Can you confirm this?
That is true, yeah. I don't know how long ago I started doing it, but someone said they liked it.
I was going to ask
stopped.
you, like...
Yeah, I got addicted to it. Anything I can attach my name to apparently is now a thing. I've got Fretz introductions. I've got Fretzinators. I've got verbs.
Wait, what's a Fretzinator?
Fretzinator is a client that's been through my program and is crushing it at business development, and they're a Fretzinator. So if I email like a bunch of my clients, I'll say, hey, Fretzinators, and nobody argues. So
that is
I just
beautiful.
go with it. I go with it.
So I want to give you an even newer version of this. I wanted to have a little segment here that I'm going to call, Are You Fretz-in or are you Fretz-out?
Ooh.
What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. Let's do it.
How am I
Let's see if
doing
they're
so
in or
far?
out.
All right. I want to talk about trends, various trends that I've been noticing. And I want to know, you as the arbiter of trends in this segment of the podcast, at least, what do you think? Is this a trend you're in on, or is it a trend you're out on? So
I'm out on
let
trends.
me start.
No.
Okay. Well,
Have
then.
we already
All right,
started the
everybody.
questions?
Thanks for coming. Not yet. You're
That
out
wasn't
on
one of the
trends
questions.
entirely.
That wasn't
So
one of the
all
questions.
the questions, all the answers are going to be no. Let's start there. All right. I learned this the other day. I was shopping with my daughter, and she picked up something from Lululemon, which was like this tiny bag that wrapped around your waist. And I said to her, "Are fanny packs back?" And she got very offended. She's like, "These are not fanny packs. They're called belt bags." Now, first of all, she's yelling at me right now. Now, first of all, do you remember fanny packs back in the day?
100%.
Like,
and
okay.
I have 5 of them.
Right
that's
now?
not- and
Do
that's
you
not
can
a
pull
joke.
them out of the closet?
No, I've bought 5 fanny packs in the last 5 years.
What?
Yes.
No.
You're hitting on
No.
a very important subject.
Oh my God, please elucidate.
Okay, here's the deal. In the 80s and the 90s, all we had was our wallet and our keys. Wallet in the back
Yes.
pocket, keys in the front pocket. We're done.
Best time to be alive, yes.
Yes. Now, what do we have? We've got keys, wallet, phone, glasses, chapstick, whatever it is, a bottle of water. Okay. We got to have our water for some reason. So I started wearing
Gotta stay hydrated.
I started wearing a sling bag, and then I stopped doing that because it was bothering me. And I started wearing,
Yeah.
so I went to take my teenager to
Sling bags are over the shoulder, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And some of them can be sling and some of them can be fanny pack. And I've decided I'm off the sling. I'm 100% on fanny. Now, everyone told me I'm weird and I'm stupid and it looks dumb. And I said, wait a second. I'm married. I don't care
Right.
what other people
Right.
think. And it carries my stuff without my pockets being, loaded up. So I am 100% fanny pack friendly. And I think it's a trend that is going to blow up, and all guys are eventually going to have fanny packs.
Are you gonna start referring to them as belt bags, or are you gonna be old school and do the fanny pack
No, it's a
thing?
fanny pack. I think your daughter's fooling herself.
It's funny.
Belt bag.
You were
Right.
initially like, "I'm not into trends," but clearly that was a lie.
No,
because you
that
bought
was a lie.
5 fanny
I love
packs the last
trends.
5 years.
And you could tell your daughter that you've got all the Riz and see what she says.
I will. I do know what that means.
There you go.
All right. Number two. I hit a nerve on the first one.
Oh
Let's see if I
man, you
can do
hit
it
me hard.
again.
Perfect.
Here's something I noticed. So I went to get a sub the other day, and I noticed that there were like 3 or 4 different varieties of potato chips that were dill pickle flavored.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like pickles are making a huge comeback right now. It's a pickle moment.
Yep.
And then you've also got a lot of pickle flavored foods coming out. My wife and daughter ordered like this flavored pickle to eat the other day. It's like a single pickle that comes in a bag in the mail.
Yeah.
And then there's like I haven't done the pickle flavored food yet. Where are you with pickles? I'm out on pickles, but are you
Okay.
Fretz-in on pickles?
I am Fretz-in on a few pickles. There are some really
okay.
well orchestrated kosher pickles, and there are some really unique flavored pickles that I will try. I am not
Great.
in on I am out on pickling other foods and
Okay.
trying to make
Oh,
you enjoy
okay.
a food that is now pickled. Pickled
Okay,
herring?
that's a good.
No,
Yes.
I'm out.
Yes.
Not a pickled herring guy.
Good line to draw, I think. So for the pickles that you like, do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, like a nice kosher pickle, like the ones you'd get in a deli. They put them at the table. They're very
those are good.
mild. They're not aggressive. They don't hurt your throat with the spices. I like that. They're gonna take a bite of crispy pickle with a sandwich, a deli sandwich. You got to
Yeah,
have
that
it.
is excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're 2 for 2.
Okay.
You're in on both trends. Okay. I'm not sure if this is a trend, but I'm trying to bring it back along with Emmanuel Macron, President of France. Sideburns.
Yeah.
Are
You've
you
always had
in or
those-
out on
I told
sideburns?
you looked like your photo on LinkedIn looked like Dracula because those sideburns.
Well, we when we started doing the show, my light was like bad, so it looked like I had literally no blood in my body. So we changed the light so
You
it
get the
looks like
white
I'm
face
actually
and the
human again.
sideburns. Trouble.
But I'm not a vampire, so yeah, I've had sideburns since I was probably 17 years old. I just love them. But is that like, are you Fretz-in on that, or is that like leave it in the 70s?
I think I'm Fretz-out on that. Yeah, not a big sideburn. You know, again, I've got sideburns. They go right into my beard, but that's it. That's the only excuse.
All right. Well, I'll live one for 3.
That's right. I mean, it looks good. It looks good on you. Is that the?
Oh, sure it does. Oh, now you're like, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, put on your black cape and fly around. We'll see how it goes.
It's funny. I had a headshot that I've had forever with like this vampire look, and my wife is always like, "You look like a vampire. You should get rid of that." But maybe I need a new headshot after like 2008. I got 3 more for you. One is athleisure. So similar to the fanny pack debate, are you an athleisure guy? Are you Fretzin on comfort, even in business settings?
Yes and no. I'm going to say I'm Fretz-in mostly because I'm like, I just went on a, airport.
I love how this is going, by the way, but go ahead.
It's sweatpants and t-shirts and fleece. That's 80-90% of the time when I'm not on a Zoom. That's what I'm dealing with. Okay. When I'm walking around the neighborhood, when I'm running around, even on an airplane, or I went on a college tour. We were at Utah and Colorado State for my teen, and I'm walking around in sweats the whole time. And by the way, they're wearing pajamas, so I'm still a step up from the teens.
That's true. Yes.
But on a like I'm going to a business networking meeling. Nope. I'll do slacks. I'll do a button down shirt or a polo.
Really?
Not going to do a suit. Suits are out for me. I'm not doing a suit. I'll only do a sport coat if I'm speaking, presenting somewhere, and never a tie. I'm out on ties unless I have
out on ties completely.
Completely off on ties at this point. I'll wear a nice shirt and a jacket. Even I want to listen to this. They have these new jackets that are like a fabric jacket, not a fabric jacket. They're all fabric, but like a really soft, stretchy jacket that looks like a sport coat, but it's not. It's a different fabric now, I want to get one of those.
Okay.
So the leisure wear.
I knew you would have opinions on all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I went to a networking meeting the other day in a t-shirt and shorts, and I was like, "This is what I do now."
See, but here's the thing.
I don't know.
There are some people
tell me I'm bad.
No, I was going to say there's some people that can pull it off. Like that I don't give a shit attitude. I've made it, and Jared, you've made it, so you can do that. You can get it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I got 2 more for you. I was looking for TikTok trends today. Are you a TikTok guy or no?
No, I'm more of an Instagram.
Have you heard? Okay. Have you heard of Milton the Dancing Rat? I'm assuming you have.
I've not.
All right, this is the latest TikTok trend.
Okay.
We'll have to do like a special episode on this. He's a 3D animated rat, and he's dancing in rain boots, but it's not raining. This is like one of the most popular things on TikTok right now. So take a look. Tell me if you're Fretz-in or Fretz-out on that. But so you are out. I'm out on TikTok, in on Instagram.
Yeah.
Is that just because of the platform, or is that because it's off and on so much and it's not reliable?
I don't know. I think I just got confused with all the China business and all the they're turning it off, they're turning it on. Like you know what? And I'm what I love about Instagram is there's so much to learn. Not to get nerdy, but like there's like I can listen to a clip of a podcast. I can look at a TED Talk. Like it's just all this great insight that we never had growing up. We didn't know jack.
I didn't know a damn thing.
You had to get like
I had to go to the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah, that's how we learned stuff, and that was a joke. Or go to library. Now it's
we're so fucking old.
You just type it into YouTube or Instagram. Anyway,
yeah, like hey, I just bought an encyclopedia set from the encyclopedia salesman. Now I finally get to find out where Croatia is. What a time to be alive. This is how well we know each other, because my last one was whether or not you were in or out on pickleball. Now you're a platform tennis guy.
Yes,
but does that mean you don't play pickleball, or do you try both?
No. So here's what happened. I play paddle in the winter. I play tennis in the summer. And then a couple summers ago, I transitioned into pickle, and now I'm anti-tennis. And people go, "Why are you anti-tennis?" Because it's doubles and it's boring as hell. You just stand there at the net and you let the other guys hit a bunch, and then you move to the other side of the net and you stand around and let the other guys hit a bunch. In pickle, at least you're involved in all the points.
That's true.
And there's only one serve, which I think should be mandatory in all sports.
I love this. Okay,
yes,
so you're a pickleball guy and you do platform tennis as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're similar. They're similar in fast hands and staying in the point and don't make mistakes and don't be stupid, which, that's where all the bad pickle is people making mistakes.
What a renaissance, man.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for sticking around for a little bit.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
It.
This is always a pleasure and always a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and I'm just happy to be here. So thanks, man.
Hey, if you're not Fretzin on Fretzin, it's about time.
I'm Fretzin on
Thanks,
Jared.
Steve.
All right, thanks, man.
Thanks to our guest, Steve Fretzin of Fretz-in, Inc. To learn more about Steve, visit Fretzin.com. That's Fretzin.com. You got to be Fretzed in, right? Now, because I'll always be a 90s kid, defacing my sister's copies of Tiger Beat, whose true passion is burning CDs for anyone who would listen, I'm now just doing the modern version of that, which is creating Spotify playlists for every podcast episode that I record, where the songs are tangentially related to an episode topic. This week's playlist is Who's That? The Who Primer, and is sponsored by Heinz Baked Beans. Wait, that feels derivative. I'm just kidding, by the way. Heinz Baked Beans hasn't sponsored shit, but I wish they would. Hit me up. I love beans. Join us next time when I feed my life force into a Moog synthesizer. It can be done.